Hello, my name is Christian Guerrero, and this is my recording for my Sociology of Deviance class for the YouTube theory video. I have chosen to describe the positivistic and the constructionist perspectives in sociology when it comes to deviant behavior. So first, I will start with the positivistic perspective, and this states that behaviors are positively real and observable. So some historical background on this. Initial believers of this thought that the people could be like subjects and that they could be observed like as natural science do it. So for example, they thought like you could see a person as a biologist would observe butterflies or birds. And they believed that these behaviors were intrinsically real and that they lied within a person. And a big weakness of this perspective is it fails to distinguish between biological or psychological traits that can distinguish criminal from non-criminal behavior. I like to say that this perspective is pretty set in stone. They believe that people are born. This perspective believes that people are either born deviant or they're not. In today's view of the positivistic perspective, they recognize that social factors have a big role in one's behavior. So for example, if somebody comes from a broken home, then they may be more likely to exhibit behaviors, or if they come from a lower social class, they're more likely to exhibit behavior. Overall, the deviance can be observable and studied objectively. And an example of this perspective is a group of 5 people who are from a lower income bracket and live in maybe a rougher part of town, maybe addicted to crack cocaine, and they would describe that as a retreat behavior, and that is deviant. Whereas a group of 5 or 6 wealthy women whose husbands are CEOs or CFOs who may take Xanax daily, they would not describe that behavior as a deviant or criminal behavior as they would those who do crack cocaine. And this one tries to explain like horrible deviant acts, such as like the Columbine and the Virginia Tech shootings. So they believe that bad social experiences cause horrible deviant acts. I'm going to move on to the constructionist perspective, which believes that there's a social construction when it comes to describing deviant behaviors. So they believe that deviance is a label. This perspective came about in the 1960s to challenge the positivistic perspective because this approach sees the subjects as real people with real feelings and that their behaviors are sort of voluntary. And an act is deviant because people think it is. And some behaviors are a behavior may be deviant in one culture, but another culture may not see it as deviant. For example, in a tribe in Papua New Guinea, all members of the family sleep in the same room, and they're usually like large families in the house. So there'll be aunts and uncles, grandpa. And parents may perform sex with their kid right in the bed next to them, and that's not considered deviant. And up until the kids are about 10 years old, a lot of like the aunts and the mothers will manually stimulate the genital area to sort of relax the children. And that's not really seen as a deviant or sexual behavior, whereas if you do the same thing in America, that would be a deviant behavior. So deviance, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder in this perspective. And this perspective avoids statistics and surface experience and explores the human. So, thank you so much for listening, and that was my YouTube theory video.